Now it's time for the Hannah Montana first two-part episode. That's right, things happen in this special that have not been seen on Hannah Montana thus far. Secrets are revealed, hearts are broken, who are subscribing, anything could happen. This is also one of my favorite episodes because I love the Jake Ryan specials. And after seeing Jake Ryan for about 4 episodes in the first season, knowing that he's coming back as a character is really exciting. In retrospect, it's cool they have him come back every season in Hannah Montana, but this event in particular kicks off the popularity of him all around. Up until now, Jake has just been this kind of heartthrob with kind of an ego that's storming the middle school hallways, but since then, Miley and Lily have moved on to high school, and he is just a middle school crush. Which means it's time for episodes 9 and 10 of Season 2, Achy Jakey Heart, Parts 1 and 2. The title is a reference to Achy Breaky Heart by Billy Ray Cyrus, who plays Robbie Ray, the first episode to actually quote one of his songs. Jake finally returns since his episode People Who Use People, and he's more popular than ever with his new movie coming out and a girl he has to quote-unquote date for the public. It kind of seems a little heartless given the fact right before he left, he kissed her, and it was very clear they were going to start a relationship, so the fact that he was gone for like 6 months and just is suddenly expecting things to pick up from where they left off, and maybe just because he's a celebrity he gets permission to do that.
Not just chocolates from the sky.
So Jake falls out of the sky wearing a tuxedo, carrying a rose and chocolates, asking Miley to get back with him. Miley's still mad at Jake for everything listed, and even more irritated as Jake continues to send her lavish gifts to try to win her back. Just coming across a little desperate, Jake. You need to understand the meaning of no. Later that night, Miley sees Jake with his co-star on television in an interview with Brian Winters, where Jake accidentally says Miley's name instead of the girl he's with.
Miley?
Oh, sorry, I meant Marissa.
Wow, Jake, girls love that. Yeah, definitely ask her to prom while you're at it. This changes Miley's mind, and I think this is a great reason. Obviously, like, she has reason to be really angry with him, but I do feel like going on public television and kind of announcing your love for somebody is enough to make up for something like that. Although, I will take away the credit because he didn't do it on purpose. There was nothing intentional about this decision he made. While it really benefited Miley, it still shows Jake's character that he just expects everything to happen for him based on things he says or does. Miley ends up going to the premiere and kisses Jake in front of everyone, and now Miley is as popular as Hannah Montana since the media publicized her relationship with Jake. After that, Jake acts like the perfect boyfriend. He even names a star after her with an official certificate. As he's totally honest with her and opening up to her, he admits that
My real name is Leslie.
Leslie, right, that's good.
something that he's never told anyone ever. And at first, Miley doesn't believe it, but then accepts it's true. She feels guilty about not being open and honest with him about being Hannah Montana, and feels even worse after going to a 2nd grade class to read about honesty and having to answer questions of the children.
Miss Montana, I'm sure you're not suggesting to a class of 2nd graders that lying is ever okay.
No, of course not. It's just that, sometimes you have to.
And messing up more. Miley being put in the speaker scenario is always cringe, and I love that about her. She's just so neurotic sometimes that, like, when she has to use her words to make up for a situation, it always makes it worse. And I love that this is consistent throughout the series. Like, never is it that she has a speech and everything goes perfectly well. I mean, the Hannah Montana movie, things went pretty unrealistically well, but you know what I mean. Meanwhile, Jackson becomes annoyed with Rico because he charges way too much for his merchandise in an extremely less thrilling plot. So Jackson, wanting to finally get back at Rico, starts his own business, which is pretty much a failure.
Or maybe the shack doesn't have refrigeration, and the food isn't always edible, and maybe we do have a little bit of a bug problem. But the shack's got character, and like me, it's here to stay.
As Jackson and Oliver crash into each other, they accidentally create a new recipe together called cheese jerky, and they start a new business selling it. Their creation is incredibly popular, which actually does inevitably get back Rico. At the end of part 1 of this episode, we finally end on Miley revealing to Jake that she is Hannah Montana and she cannot keep lying to him. And I love that they stop us right before we could see his reaction, because when I was a teenager, this really shocked me, as Hannah Montana only revealed her secret twice, and it was the very beginning of the series. I did not expect her to do it again. But when I saw the promo for this show and knew that this was coming, I had to watch it, and was very upset when I knew that the cliffhangers happened right before his response. So I had to wait for his response for like a week.
Leslie!
Just give me a second, okay?
Or I forget however long it took for this episode to come out. I remember this is like the perfect way to set up a 2-part episode. Having like a huge reveal like this, obviously you can't just do that in a single episode. The airing of the second half of Achy Jakey Heart coincided with the release of Miley Cyrus's Hannah Montana 2 Meet Miley Cyrus, which is a phenomenal album that I've been listening to this week to prepare for this video. It was the top-selling record for that week in general. Parts 1 and 2 were the #1 and 2 best-selling TV shows on iTunes in July 2007, which is crazy because I didn't even realize we were buying TV at that time. The episode was the second highest rated program for its week, behind the premiere of the show The Closer. It was also the second highest rating ever for up until that point for a Disney Channel original series. They have a funny reference to Dancing with the Stars, in which Billy Ray Cyrus was actually in, and they call it Reading with the Stars in the 2nd grade classroom. When Oliver complains about Jackson's cheese getting in his beef jerky, he said it's not
kosher. Oh, Detective Schwartz is gonna go all sugar now.
And it's revealed that Oliver is Jewish in this moment. So then we move on to part 2 of this fun special. So after Miley reveals her secret, she and Jake share a kiss for only the paparazzi to split the two. I think Jake's reaction is kind of neutral to scared. If I were Miley, I'd be extremely concerned after seeing his reaction, although it's not as bad as Oliver's, which he will note later. Although Jake and Miley do grow closer and go on a date to the movies, but have no privacy between themselves and all of their fans. Jake and Miley leave the movie early and go back to Miley's house and are about to make out when they're interrupted by Miley's father. Whenever Jake and Miley go out in public, Ryan's fans flock around them, and Miley starts to become a lot more uncomfortable, especially as Jake starts to use the popularity to his benefit.
Why don't I get us some drinks?
Okay.
Wow, I'm kind of thirsty. Do you want water, fruit juice, or iced tea?
Miley, who has groomed herself to not let the spotlight influence her, this really hits home when it comes to relationships in early high school versus late middle school. The idea of like finally opening up to somebody for the first time, you know, like that usually happens in dating and when you first like somebody. And in this scenario, the idea that Hannah Montana is a pop star and there actually is huge stakes mimics what a teenager would feel at that age. The kind of emotional weight you get or are given when you put it on somebody else in your life really changes you and the person you've told it to. You could tell that Jake seems to be shifting as a person as he struggles with the hard fact that the things he's known so far in his life may not be morally okay.
Now I'm just a regular guy. I'm a nobody, like Oliver. Brilliant. Hey!
Miley has to deal with the fact that she's actively chosen the life of not being popular and that she can't just blame Jake for her own decision. Jake is really insecure that he can't be at the level Miley has been as Hannah Montana and struggles to fit in as a normal person, although he's in pretty big denial about it.
Hannah Montana's a star too, but underneath Hannah is a real person. Underneath Jake is,
more Jake?
And Miley gets even more turned off to his entire personality, even realizing she might have to break up with him, to which Lily and Oliver confirm. There's nothing more devastating than being in a relationship and feeling like you may not be enough for the other person, or you guys may be drifting apart, especially after you've opened up to each other. I feel like most teenagers in this day and age do repress it a lot more, but seeing Miley go through it and make the right decision to actually act on her feelings and rationalize them so quickly is a really good role model situation. Speaking of how mature she is, she doesn't really want to break up with him, so she decides to behave inappropriately wearing a giant swan dress, which animal lovers, please close your eyes.
but first I gotta, oh yeah, that feels nice.
and flaunts her excessive armpit hair to the public to embarrass Jake, all in the hopes that he would break up with her. Because of how much of a diva Jake Ryan portrays himself to be, Miley is reasonably concerned that if she is to displease him or say something negative, that he will go around and tell everybody she's Hannah Montana.
We can get through this. You'll learn to not be jealous, just like I learned to be a normal guy.
Oh, sweet niblets. You don't know what a normal guy is.
And this is so culturally relevant, especially in the time where teenagers do kind of take out spite on each other a lot more than they used to. People cancel each other, people make up rumors about each other. When you're young and you're hurt, you tend to take it out on the person that was nearby. And I feel like that's really fair for Miley to be worried about that. So Jake inevitably approaches her and says, "What, you think I'm going to tell your secret? Maybe I will." Which is exactly how a teenage boy would approach this situation. I love how honest it is and that it's not just an immediate payoff that he's like, of course I would never do that. They actually take time to reflect on. And in the end, Miley has a really long night wondering what Jake could possibly do to retaliate from her big publicity stunt. And if I were Miley, I would not sleep at all that night. I would be terrified. Of course, Jake would do something. You know, the compatibility they once had and having it turn really dark is a really sad note. Meanwhile, Rico tries to make another attempt to steal the cheese jerky recipe and fails, and Jackson and Oliver are still making tons of money. However, they have not factored the cost of ingredients and supplies, and once they've covered all the costs, Jackson realizes that he's only made $1. So, realizing he's better off working with Rico, he actually just gets rid of the stand and just pretends it never happened.
I work here.
But I fired you.
No, you didn't.
Sure I did. And then you opened that shack.
What shack?
Gaslighting Rico into thinking none of this existed, which is kind of funny to see him go crazy, but definitely brought gaslighting into our culture in a casual way. In the end, Jake sends Miley a box with a rose inside and a note attached, and on the note, Jake wrote that Miley's words were true, and he will try to become a normal person before even going out with her again, and that he still cares about her, which I think is very admirable, especially for a boy at that age.
Let's hope it's not another actor.
He also confirms that he will not disclose her secret and signs the note as Leslie, not Jake, to show his commitment to his growth. Wow, this episode was so fun to watch again, and it really brought back memories and solidified Hannah Montana's excellent storytelling. This show meant so much to me, and I could see that it was very maturely written and played out, and of course, I related to it, and I feel for the characters. Even though me and them are all much older now, I could feel myself being transformed back to that time and feeling the emotional weight what both Jake and Miley have been going through. I can't wait to continue the second season. I can't wait to keep watching the second season with everybody. So thank you guys so much for watching my video. This is Johnny2000. Don't forget to like and subscribe. And for more Disney, Nick, and nostalgia content, subscribe. Have a good day.